We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome.
I pledge that I will not relax until victory is won. I pledge that I will join and support all actions undertaken in good faith in accord with the time-honored democratic tradition of nonviolent protest, of peaceful assembly and petition, and of redress through the courts and the legislative process. I pledge to carry the message of the march to my friends and neighbors back home and arouse them to an equal commitment and equal effort. I will march, and I will write letters. I will demonstrate, and I will vote. I will work to make sure that my voice and those of my sisters and brothers ring clear and determined from every corner of our land. Thank you very much. And now, Michael Golojuch, a veteran civil rights activist and current vice chairman of the Gay, Lesbian, Bisexual, and Transgender Caucus of the Democratic Party of Hawaii.
Good afternoon, everybody. Just one quick correction. I'm actually chair of the GLBT caucus of the Democratic Party of Hawaii. No biggie. I had hoped that the governor would have given me reason to rewrite my script for today, but unfortunately he did not. I do want to disagree with him on a couple of things, and we'll get to that. But when I look out into this crowd, it's like homecoming every time I come to an event like this. I see old friends, I see new friends, I see friends I have yet to meet. So it's not like we will not see each other again. Every minority has benefited from Dr. King's legacy. Like all great leaders, his speeches and work transcend race, ability, religion, gender, age, socioeconomic status, gender identity, expression, and sexual orientation. Some think Dr. King's work was completed with the passage of the Civil Rights Act, while others say it was with the election of President Obama. I disagree, because I know deep down that we still have a long road ahead of us. And in fact, I'm not sure if Dr. King's work will ever be fully completed. And I say this because the fight for ensuring that everyone's civil rights are honored and protected is an ongoing, never-ending struggle. We have had some major victories recently, as well as some major setbacks, especially when SCOTUS gutted the Voters' Right Act. Hawaii has one of the lowest voter registration and turnout rates in the nation. And this is a huge embarrassment for a state as diverse as Hawaii. With so many different minorities, we should have the nation's highest voter registration and turnout. I say this because every member of any minority group should realize that someone somewhere died for your right to vote. In almost every case, a lot of people died and fight for this right. As for any member of a minority group, to not vote is to spit in the memory of those that made the ultimate sacrifice. I bring this up today since Monday was the 93rd anniversary of the passage of the 19th Amendment. And for those of you who don't know what that means, it gave the women the right to vote. The amendment was written in 1878 by Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton. They, like Dr. King, never lived to see their life's work come to fruition, because it was not till 40 some odd years later when they actually passed the 19th Amendment. Dr. King's life's work continues here in Hawaii with our fight for marriage equality. There are those that think I should not include sexual orientation or gender identity or expression in the list when talking about Dr. King and his life's work. Anyone who thinks that doesn't know Dr. King. Dr. King would be standing with us here today if we were alive fighting for equal rights. Just look at who Dr. King put in charge of the event, that single event that would be the culmination of his life work, the March on Washington. Dr. King put in charge an out gay African-American, Mr. Bayard Rustin. Granted, Mr. Rustin was only out as he could have been during the 1960s without being murdered for being gay, much like being gay in Russia is today. Keep in mind that none of Dr. King's writings or speeches, including his I Have a Dream speech, had an asterisk after saying that the LGBT community was excluded from his legacy. Still don't believe I should be talking about Dr. King when we're talking about marriage equality? I ask you to turn to the one person on the planet that he had the most intimate relationship with, and that was his wife, Mrs. Coretta Scott King. She was a very strident supporter of equality for the LGBT community, which included marriage equality, up until her death in 2006. To quote Mrs. Coretta Scott King from the 2003 Creating Change Conference, organized by the Gay and Lesbian Task Force, I quote, I hear people say that I should not be talking about the rights of lesbian and gay people, but I hasten to remind them that Martin Luther King Jr. said, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. She continued, I appeal to everyone who believes in Martin Luther King Jr. dream to make room at the table of brotherhood and sisterhood for lesbian and gay people. I know you all believe in Dr. King's dream, or otherwise you would not have taken time out of your busy lives to be here today. But be warned, I'm gonna ask for a little bit more of your time today. By noon tomorrow, each and every one of you, I need you to contact the governor's office. His telephone number is 586-0034. And tell him to convene a special session for marriage equality. We have waited 20 years. The time for talking is over. The bill is there. The momentum is there. We need action now. After you're done doing that, I still need a little bit more of your time. I'd like to ask you, each of you, call or visit your state representative and senator. And if you know that they support marriage equality, thank them for their support and encourage them to be more vocal. For as the saying goes, when this is all said and done, we won't remember the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. If you are unsure of their stance, let them know that you support marriage equality, you support a special session, and you vote. If you know for sure they do not support justice and equality, tell them you hope that they will evolve on this issue like so many have over the last couple of years. In fact, the last couple of days, in fact. Remember, civil rights has never been freely given by the oppressor. They must be demanded and fought for by the oppressed. And I am here today to demand our civil rights. To make no mistake, marriage equality is a civil right. It is not a heterosexual privilege. This may seem like a big task that I'm asking, but there is a big reward for our state when we do get marriage equality. And I'm not talking about the crude $217 million added to our state's economy. I'm talking about being able to count Hawaii as a free state once again. We used to lead, Hawaii used to lead on civil rights, and now we are following. We are barely keeping up, and for that fact, we need to become a leader yet again. Now I'm well aware this may seem radical, and there are those out there. In fact, some of you are with us today that think some of us are far too radical in the way that we have fought for equality. To that, I quote Dr. King one last time. When you are right, you cannot be too radical. When you are wrong, you cannot be too conservative. I want to thank you all for being here. Thank the rest of the speakers. Please stick around. We have a long more work to do, and we will all get there together.
Wonderful speech by Michael Golojuch.